Hello, everybody. I'm going to give us a moment to get started. Hopefully, I can also see what you're typing here. So let's make sure here I can get the live chat going. I just want to thank everybody for showing up and let you know what we're going to be looking at today here. I'll be starting off with this quick hello, and we'll see if anyone types any questions or just says hi, just to make sure that the chat is working. Then I'm going to answer some questions. All right, great. I just saw Lindsay and Carla. Thank you so much for letting me know. And you can hear me okay? And thank you for tuning in later at night in London. Yes, thank you so much. Hello. Great. Okay, so I'm glad it's working. It sounds like you guys can hear me. So I'm going to once again just kind of run through what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to just give a quick introduction after everyone checks in here, and then I'm going to answer some questions. Questions that folks on Patreon wrote to me, also some stuff from Twitter that I didn't answer from before, and then I'll take a few questions here live as well. And I also prepared a meditation for you today. So nice seeing everybody here from around the world. This is the great part about doing a live feed. I don't do that often, and I've seen Johannesburg, Florida, Canada, Tasmania, Switzerland. So nice to meet all of you guys. Thank you for showing up today. Thank you. So let me get started with some of the questions that I got, as I said, from my friends on Patreon. And I'm going to start with someone named Gray, who wrote me like 3 or 4 questions. I think I'll have time to answer everything. And if you can hold your questions, you can keep saying hi, I appreciate it. Hold your questions until I answer all of these. Then you can actually throw them out because I don't want to miss them, okay? Great. All right, so I was looking through some of these last night and really loved what you guys were asking about. I'm going to start with Gray's last question because it was a good one. What the question was he asked, were you raised in a family where metaphysical work was the norm? If not, how did you find your path? When did you get your first tarot deck? These are all great questions. So my family was spiritual, but I would not say that they were practicing metaphysics by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I didn't find out until much, much later that my mom, when she was a kid, she was able to see spirits. She saw like her grandmother who had passed away, and so did her brother. They saw her in their room, which was interesting. And I found out from my father, who's since passed, that he once had an experience with a full body apparition. He was sitting in the bar talking to someone, and then when that person left, he asked the bartender who that was, and there was nobody there. And so later they kind of affirmed that it's not something that, is abnormal. There's a lot of people in the family that can do it. So the spiritual practice, I think I woke up later in life. I kind of talked about this a little bit in the developmental series, which, by the way, I do plan to continue. That was one of the questions. And it came to me when the universe wanted to push me into another path, making sure that, it was time to make a career change. It was time to evaluate who was around me, what I was doing. And so, like so many people, whether it's a really sometimes a tragic event that happens or just sort of like crazy life events in general, I started to wake up, started to feel things and see things. And I thought, okay, I have to get this under control. So that's when I went to yoga. And yoga was kind of the main conduit into me learning how to breathe, control energy, get rid of things that didn't feel good, etc. And so I would actually credit, I'm a Kundalini level 1 teacher. I don't really teach, but it was the training that gave me the ability to hold my energy and clear energy a little bit. So I highly recommend any type of yoga as a great way to ground, to clear, and to center yourself. And let's see, what was the other question? When did I get my first tarot deck? This would have probably been 2012, 2013. I think I said in the video that I didn't resonate with the first deck that I got. And I would encourage anyone that wants to kind of explore a little bit what tarot is to them or whatever, to shop around, give yourself time. And if you don't like the first deck, return it. Don't throw it away or anything. Just kind of keep it, put it to the side. You might later find that the energy is something that you like. But yeah, now I have way too many decks. I'll probably do a separate video and just show all of the stacks of decks that I have and maybe highlight some of the new ones that I'm looking at. Maybe today I can talk about that as well. The other thing, this was a good question, and I had to think about this, but some things about myself that might surprise you. Um, I almost like, well, I may or may not need these today, but when I'm writing, I wear glasses. I don't need them to see you. I don't need them to see the cards, but if I'm looking at fine print like I'm reading right now, I may need to pull those up. So um, thank you so much. And by the way, I see you guys are still saying hi, so hello. um, in addition to that, I'm a writer, and I think that I've hinted at that or talked lightly about that on my channel before. But I'm trying to get an agent, trying to publish a book. I hope to give you guys more information as soon as that comes out. So that's also something about myself. I'll take some other questions later, and you can ask me more about myself, metaphysics, etc. Another question was about my musical taste, which I thought was interesting. I guess maybe it was Libra. I mentioned Peter Gabriel. I think I was talking about Salisbury Hill, which is a really spiritual song. And the question or the answer to this question is I really don't limit myself to one genre. And I think it would be hard for me to pick a top five. Um, but I'll list a couple because I think it gives you insight into what inspires me. So obviously, yeah, Peter Gabriel is one of them. I think he has a really great connection with, he's very passionate in his lyrics, and there's a spiritual side to him as well. So I'm always fascinated, and he's an artist above all else. Like if you look at his early work in Genesis and some of the solo work, he used to paint his face. He has elaborate show, like kind of like sets and dances and things like that. So I really love the artistry in his work. Um, I was born in the 70s. I grew up in the 80s, 90s. So I love everything like classic art, new wave, or classic rock, new wave, synth pop. I like some of today's music as well, but I'll list a few here. So like for spiritual music, because I was a yoga teacher, I love people like Sanatam Kaur. She's got great music that will help bring your energy to a higher space. A few other ones you can check out if you're looking for kirtan are Ajit Kaur, White Sun, Jai Jagdish. They're all good. I'll put those links on my site later. Um, I like Stevie Nicks for classic rock because she's totally plugged into metaphysics. She writes about like Welsh goddesses and soulmates and crystals and all that stuff. So I think she was one of the original kind of like she was brave talking about spirituality in her music in a way that others didn't. For the same reason in the 90s, I don't like all of the later work, but definitely the beginning stuff. Tori Amos is amazing. I think she's psychic. And if you listen to some of her songs like Yes, Anastasia, she was writing about what she thought was like a spirit standing at the edge of her bed. It probably was a spirit. And a lot of her work delves into spirituality, divine feminine, etc. Let's see, what else did I write down here? And then in the 80s, like I just like regular music like the rest of you, whether it's Eurythmics, Prince, Madonna, Tears for Fears. I don't know. There's like a ton of music in the 80s. It was just fun. So I think I'm like the rest of you in that respect. Um, oh, and another reason I like Tori, by the way, is I love Neil Gaiman. And I kind of discovered Neil Gaiman because of her, all of her references to Sandman, which is a great graphic novel series or comic strip, not comic strip, but it's graphic novel. And really great to kind of delve into if you haven't. And he's a great writer. So I like him as well as a writer. When I grew up, just talking about books a little bit, it was like Lord of the Rings, Wrinkle in Time, Dune, all sorts of, I like sci-fi and fantasy, anything that was really Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe that would kind of take you out into another world and maybe teach you a little bit about things in a way that you wouldn't see in traditional fiction. Let's see what else you guys asked me here. Let's see. Okay, yeah. Some of the other ones were, you said that, will I be continuing my metaphysical series on development? I will. The only reason I stopped was I needed some time to get better. And for all of you that have been asking about my recovery, I'm doing so much better. And I want to just say live, thank you so much, because that was just a reminder for myself for me to take care of myself. I do a lot of work where I'm basically almost 90% of the time working and helping you guys. And then I have clients in my own practice when I'm not doing this. I see people one-on-one. So it's a lot of work for others. And I think this was the universe saying, okay, refocus, take care of yourself and heal. And I healed, I hopefully like near a 100%. So I have nothing to complain about. And I'm just grateful that I was able to make that recovery. I'm seeing some people here that are also into Neil Gaiman as well, which is great. Okay, and I'm seeing some questions about my sign and all of that. So I am going to answer that. I wanted to see if this came up in the live feed. I think so many times I get questions about like, what's your sun, what's your rising, what's your moon? Let me tell you why. I'm going to answer them today, by the way. But the reason that I haven't answered them before is just because I want you to know that when I tune into each of the 12 signs, I'm there for you in that month for that reading, and it's about you. And honestly, in general, this whole channel is usually about you guys as well. So I want to kind of take me out of the mix unless I'm doing a live feed or a Q&A like this. So with that being said, yeah, I like the Smiths as well, by the way. I'm going to give you all three of my signs. So my sun sign is Libra. I'm right on the cusp of Scorpio. My ascendant is Capricorn, and my moon is in Taurus. So there you go. And but I will say this, just because those are sort of sun, rising, and moon, like the rest of you, I deal with people in every sign all the time. So I know you're just curious. So there you go. Hopefully that answers your questions. Okay, let's see. I got a question here from Jason asking about how I learned the tarot and avenues that those of you who are trying to seek and learn about it can also take. I think that's a great question. The way that I talked about this again in my developmental series, but prior to me ever picking up a deck of cards, I started to have dreams and intuitions. And what I later realized was past life memories of me reading in another life. And I saw myself somewhere in what looked like France, picking up some cards that had fallen on the floor, and it looked like it was after some sort of festival or something like that. Anyway, I'm pretty sure that I read at least once or twice, and I was drawn to try it again this lifetime. And the other thing about it was a form of empowerment, because it was a time when I was kind of waking up metaphysically, and I wanted to have one thing that I can control in that sort of awakening. Because when, as many of you know, wherever you are in your spiritual journey, moments happen where you kind of feel this punctuated sort of either anxiety or fear or nervousness. And I thought, if I just learn something about what's going on, then I'm going to have a touchstone or a grounding point in my life. So one thing that I did was tarot. Another thing was yoga. I also have dabbled with Reiki. I have Reiki 1 attunement. Maybe I'll get 2 somewhere down the line. But I think anytime that we kind of learn a little bit more about how our energy works, about dealing with tools that can help us understand energy, it only deepens our own sort of understanding. And thank you so much, by the way. I just see that Teely gave me a donation, so thank you. But it's a great way for you to just sort of get in touch with yourself. Empowerment and trust and faith with your own abilities, that's really what matters. And so keep that up. And that's what inspired me to pick up the first deck of cards. I had a reader here in Los Angeles who's no longer practicing, but was an amazing reader. Also a guy, which was great because a lot of times there's a lot of women in this field. So I think the fact that I saw a man that was reading cards that had this great energy and just kind of opened me up. Hey, I could do this too. And so I decided to study under him. He had a small sort of class that he offered where he worked, and the rest is history. I never put the deck down. And that's my piece of advice for those of you that want to learn. At the time, I just had a single deck. But I realized that there was a power in looking at different ones, because each one has different illustrations, different energy with it. And so I thought, okay, it's kind of like learning different languages. So as I grabbed the different decks, I realized that I could see different things. And when I do personal readings, that's why I mix it up a little bit. And I might use 3, 5 decks or something while I'm pulling cards, because I'll see trends that I wouldn't otherwise. So find things that work for you and go with that. For me, it was that was a sort of a key piece to kind of unlocking the key with that. I forget who asked this one, but another one was, how often do I read for myself, which I think is a great question for anyone that's intuitive or a medium or reads cards. When I started to learn, and I think this is really good for anybody that is trying to develop their skills. Yeah, I pulled a single card per day, and I think I did that for at least a year. And then I would start to expand it out and look at maybe 3 cards. Because if you got 1 card, say maybe it's like the Ace of Cups, and then it was a day where there was a lot of heavy emotions or some great news or something like that, you could start to associate things with that. And the important thing for tarot is to personalize your experiences with the codes that you see here with each symbol. So whatever symbol comes up, 6 of Cups. This is because I'm talking to all of you today. This can be sort of connecting with groups and trying to find a way to feel like a part of a team or something like that. So each time you pull a card, that was a great example. There'll be a new energy that I can associate with that. So every time I read for someone, I get better at reading because I learn how that applies to them. And then when I read for myself, I can see how it applies to my life. So just keep reading. And if you want to take notes, you can have like a journal where there's 78 pages and you talk about each of the cards and new things that you learn about the cards. That's a great way to develop. And I see people still checking in. Hello from France. Good to see you as well. Let me see if there's some other questions. Then I'm going to move to live questions because I want to engage with you guys. So these are some questions from Twitter, and Carla was asking me about, actually there were two people, Carla and Melanie. They said, want to know more about clearing your energy field. What techniques will help when you have thoughts, fears, etc., holding you back, as I consider that your inner world reflects what's happening around your outer world. I believe that as well. And then there were questions about crystals and other things that you can do. Oh, thank you so much, Rebecca. One thing that I would say in this is to begin with, it's kind of like mind over matter. When you have doubt, when you have fear, when you don't believe that your own words or thoughts are powerful enough, this is the crack that kind of allows for negative energy to come into your life. It's also habits in your life as well. So I had a Reiki healer once that told me the reason that you're having trouble with people in your life or experiences in your life is because you're relinquishing power or you're giving it to them. It's not because they're more powerful than you or they're defeating you or anything like that. It's more that by the pure amount of thought energy that you're putting into things, that sometimes you're feeding that directly. So my advice to you would be to change the mental channel first and try to find a way to just simply focus on something that's more productive. Because when we are afraid of things or when we obsess over things, we're simply kind of going in the same circle again and again and again, and it's not necessarily allowing us to move forward. So I changed the channel. I did that with mantra work. Some of those kirtan artists that I list, they have these sort of repetitive chants, but kind of put to a pop tune that really have a way of changing up your energy, putting higher frequency thoughts into your head. That's it. You got to reprogram. It's kind of like television. If something's not working, they reprogram so that more people will kind of tune in. You want to reprogram it so that you're starting to call in higher frequencies in your life. Someone asked about abundance blockages. My advice with this would be that it's all about your self-worth. If you believe in yourself and love yourself and you feel that you are enough for yourself, this is what really, really is going to start calling in new things. When you feel like you're lacking or you're trying to find completion within other relationships, work experiences, etc., that's when the blockages exist, because people can sense that you don't have something or you're looking for something else outside of yourself. So working on filling up the cup, if we were looking at yoga, for instance, not yoga, I'm sorry, looking at the Ace of Cups, yoga helps with this, with breathing, but looking at Ace of Cups, if it's upside down, this is showing like a lack of self-worth, of self-love, of self-acceptance. You put the cup upright, it needs to be overflowing. This is when you're going to be able to pull in great love experiences, great money experiences, great work opportunities. And I mentioned yoga is a great way to sort of breathe. We'll be doing some of that later today to sort of fill up that cup, feeling like your energy can be put back to a normal level. Let's see. There was another question about contract releases saying, do we need something even more? What happens if the other person won't let go? More of the same here. Like, I want you to believe that when you think to yourself or say out loud, I release you, that those 3 words are like magic. And that's enough. If you believe what you say, it can break the cords. It can cut the cords. You don't have to worry too much about someone else sitting there and not letting go. Part of the magic is just blessing them and releasing. All right, I think I've done a lot of answering of pre-asked questions. I'd like to look at the live feed. I want to thank everybody that's been kind enough to also donate. I see there's been some donations here as well. So do you have any questions for me? If you've already typed it, go ahead, you can cut and paste or ask it again. Linda, you're asking if I'm vegan. I'm a modified vegan. I had to change because I was lacking some iron in my diet. So I try to get as close to that as possible. But I do, when necessary, add a little fish in my diet. And that was after 20 years of being vegan. But I'm still, I would say 80 to 90% of the time vegan, but I was lacking some B12 and iron, so I added that in. So you got to follow what your body says. But I try to do as much as I can to be sustainable for the environment, and that includes eating a mostly plant-based diet. Um, do I read full time? I basically, yeah, I would say this is 80% of my work schedule. I write when I don't read, but during the week, I see clients. And that's how I can do the readings here on YouTube because it's a lot of time and energy, and I have to pay for the same things that you guys do. So I see clients during the week. I do these readings for about 5 to 7 days a month to get all the YouTube stuff. And then I write when I don't do that. Let's see here. Is yoga good to awaken our Kundalini? Absolutely. It gets you ready for a Kundalini awakening. It doesn't happen right off the bat. Some of you might go into that with that sense of awakening already, but it gives you the tools to deal with the awakening when it happens, and it kind of helps clear out all of the junk that we hold in our auric fields. Um, yes, I will. I'll grab Apollo in a second. He's in the other room. I'll get him before I do the meditation. Let's see. How do I know if a relation is karmic, and what is the lesson behind it? This is really a good question. So for those of you that are already empathically kind of awake, you feel and sense things that are going on in others' minds or bodies or energy fields. If you have someone in your family, maybe it's a brother, a sister, and by the way, thank you so much, Carolyn, a brother, sister, whoever, even a wife or a husband in this life, and you get this sense of always kind of predictively knowing what's going to happen, or if something, it's just kind of like you can't get them out of your mind or your energy. That often shows a karmic connection. The other thing is, I had a few instances in my life. I've been blessed with meeting some best friends and great acquaintances, but I would meet them immediately and I just thought, we're going to be friends. Like the very first meeting, I knew that we would be lifelong friends. Later, upon reflection, I realized that was probably either like a brother or a marital partner or something like that. And the reason some of those people come back in our lives is because we love them so much and we want to celebrate that love and try different relationships, work out different problems, work out different dynamics because we're constantly teaching one another. So it's like going to class and choosing your favorite professor. That's what karmic partnerships can be. It can also be the flip side, which is you feel this sense that that person owes you something, or vice versa. Maybe you had a debt. And thank you so much. I can't read it, your name, but thank you so much for the last donation. I appreciate it. When you have a karmic debt and you feel like you need to give it back to someone, it might just be you're going to shower them with love in this life, or it might mean that you've taken something and you want to repay that. Whatever it is, that's also what karmic relationships are about. Hello from Bermuda. By the way, I already went through the star signs, so you can go back a little bit and listen to that. Any other questions that you would like to ask me? So unfortunately, I can't look at all the previous feeds, so go ahead and type it again if you want to. How do you clear negative energies from your aura? And then also, how do you know when the death card is actual death? All right, I'll answer those two and pause for a second. So clearing energies from your aura. Very simple. My smudging stick is in the other room, but you can take smudging, like any sort of smudging technique, and basically use that on your body. So hold it over each auric chakra, and also just kind of basically say, this is what I would say. I release any negative energy from my auric field. I only would like to allow frequencies of love, light, compassion, and God to be here. Anything that's of a lower frequency, please rise to something higher or go back to source. Going back to source is a key thing. I give things a chance to either improve or get out of here, basically. And so that's what you can do to clear energies. The other question I remembered was, how do you know kind of like what the death card means? Is it death? Is it something else? First of all, it's all about the context in the spread. So if I'm seeing a lot of things that show maybe sadness, fear, frustration, and then I see death card, and maybe especially if there's some cards that might show sickness, like the 10 of Swords or five of Pentacles, and then I see death, I could see a trending towards illness, and I would see that someone had to take care of themselves, or things could kind of go into a negative place. It can also show positive things. Death is transformation. So if I see all positive cards like Ace of Pentacles, Ace of Cups, all of these sort of beautiful cards showing growth and opportunity, I would say, wow, you're going through a transformative period in your life. So death can be a portal going into the light. It's kind of like a black hole leading into what might be sort of like an explosion on the other side of light. So we don't know which end sometimes you're at, but I can see transformation with that. It can also be stagnation if it's reversed. There's so many things death can be, but it would really depend on intuition, what I'm feeling, and context of the spread if I'm looking at multiple cards. What do snakes mean in dreams? Power. It's a symbol of power. It can be a symbol of, it can also symbolize Kundalini awakening. There can be sexual connotations with it as well. It really, again, depends on the context. Have you had your name called out in your sleep or your bed kicked? Interesting you mentioned sleep. Yeah, the reason that you might be experiencing sort of spirit energy around bedtime is because right before you go to bed or right when you wake up, you're at the most meditative and open state possible. You're kind of like a natural medium. So what you always want to ask, I put this in my intuitive video, is to just identify the source. Say, who are you? What's your purpose? Where do you come from? And spirits, I don't know why, but they're bound to answer these questions, specifically who they are and where they come from. So always ask that, and don't worry about it unless you have a bad feeling when you're talking to this energy. From an empath here, you want to know how you can cope with the intensity of the empathic energy. That's such a great question. When I sort of first came to terms with my empathy, it was actually right around Halloween time, which is probably the worst time of year to wake up as an empath because of the fact that the veil is already thin, because you have a couple of holidays that are celebrating death, the Day of the Dead, and then also Halloween. Halloween in particular can be tricky because of the images and the energy that's happening around that time. It's not always of a high frequency. I went outside during that Halloween and I could just feel like the whole city, everything around me. And I thought, I got to go back inside. This is too much. Kind of felt like you put your hand, if you've ever plugged something in, you get that buzzing feeling. I just felt like this numb sensation. That's when I decided to take up meditation and yoga. So you should have a daily meditation practice. Absolutely. I talked about smudging your body. You should do that. Epsom salt baths. Though you can get like over at the convenience store usually for $3 to $5, a generic brand of Epsom salt, and take a bath maybe 2 or 3 times a week with that. That'll help you. Kind of helps pull out the energy. And also doing grounding activities like going out, planting some flowers, or touching a tree, meditating in nature. You have to kind of get your hands in the earth elements. Eating earth vegetables, sort of like potatoes or beets or anything that grows in the earth and lives in the earth is really good for grounding you as well. What other questions? Hello and good evening in Europe. I'm glad you guys joined me. Essential oils, yes, I agree, they help as well. And like lavender is a great thing for relaxation. So let's see. How do you manage relationships, romantic relationships, if you're an empath? That's really a good question. You have to be picky because every time you engage with another human being, you're going to have residual energy that kind of exists between the two. So you're cautious, and you eventually work your energy to a point that you're not afraid of whatever you get, you can take, basically. So you have to if you meditate every day and you practice the clearing techniques that I talked about, thank you so much for that donation, then you'll be able to find a way to not sort of feel like you're constantly receiving. And I think, do you remember talking about music again, the Sia song Titanium? I know that when I was also kind of trying to deal with all of that, for a moment, I used that and I just sort of saw myself as this metallic being that anything that came at me just was bounced right back off. So it's kind of like a mirror. You could see yourself as a mirror or as metal, or feeling like, okay, in this moment, I'm not going to let too much in. So practicing sort of boundaries, I think, is essential. And it is a great song, I agree. I love Sia too, by the way. She's got a lot of great emotional, spiritual energy. You said you're trying to heal from a traumatic brain injuries and constant pain. By the way, I can completely relate with that because for about 7 days after my accident, I fell on the floor, by the way, for those of you that missed that. And I had a concussion, a few fractured bones in my body. So scary going through that. And taking time to yourself to just sleep and eat well is essential. But it's so scary talking to doctors. They don't know a lot about how to deal with brain traumas. A lot of it's wait and see. But I do believe that the power of prayer and meditation is essential. But good diet and good sleep, that's what kind of helped me through it. And all the love that you guys gave me as well. And my dog, which I'll pull out here in a second. So just take care of yourself and take as much time as possible to recover. That would be my advice on that. Can you connect with angels? Absolutely. That was actually my first experience with, well, I should take that back. I'll talk about this afterwards, but I lived in a haunted apartment. That was when I kind of began to wake up, and that was way back in college. But the first sort of otherly being that I saw was an angel, and otherworldly being, I should say. And all you have to do is really connect with a sense of compassion, and the angels will open up. So you want to start with gratitude and compassion, and you can work with two, I would say, like Archangel Michael, Gabriel, also Raphael. Those are three that you can work with that are wonderful, time tested. They've been around for a long time, and there's no question of origin or purpose. So you can connect with that angelic energy, and just like with Archangel Michael, a great meditation that you can do. And maybe I'll do future meditations just for the archangels. It's a good idea. I'll write it down while we're talking here. Is like for Michael, you could imagine that he's wrapping his wings around you. And so if you're feeling alone, feeling unsafe, feeling neglected, just close your eyes and feel the wings of that angel around you. Feel the warmth, feel the radiance of that. Connect with Archangel Michael, and then just send love from your heart. It's the heart that's going to open you up to the angelic realm. They don't really deal with lower frequencies. Love is the universal language. I've said that before. So as long as you're talking with love, you'll be able to connect with the angelic realm. You do that a little in your sleep. Sleep is a powerful way for you to connect with clairvoyance in general. That's where I started to kind of wake up. Oh, I was going to mention the haunting that I experienced. Yeah, this was sort of when I wasn't really awake or aware as much, and so I was in an apartment where there was a ghost, and it kind of stuck with me for a while. So it's true that people can be haunted as well as places. And ultimately, when I became aware and awake, that was something that I was able to release. So so again, you can still let go of stuff even if there's attachments. I don't feel like you're ever beholden to the energy that's around you. It's just about perceiving it and reclaiming your power. What other questions do you guys have? You said you're having a hard time getting clients. You're not confident in your abilities. Any advice? That's a good question. When you're starting to figure out how to maybe do something like this for a living, again, practice makes perfect. Work on yourself. Keep like with astrology, you want to keep working with the charts. Kind of get everything that you need to memorize, and then you could do small groups, or you could read for people and try to get referrals. But it's just practice and understanding. Here's the one piece of advice I'll give you that I think will open things up for you. When you stop thinking, your intuition flows much more clearly. So whether you're looking at an astrological chart or a spread of 10 or 3 or 1 cards in front of you, what you think first is going to be the most valid. What you start to rationalize or overthink is going to water that down. So believe that you're tapped in, say what you perceive, and do that often. So let's see what else you guys have in question. Let's see, how do you use crystals in your practice? I actually just connected with someone who hooked me up with some crystals that will help with my grid in my house. One thing that I want to talk about when I do the crystals video, super easy thing that you can do is you can take 4 crystals like this, 4 quartz crystals. Sorry, I just dropped that one. 4 quartz crystals, and you can place them in the corners of your room. Take each crystal, bless them, like put your energy on it, maybe put it towards your heart chakra, and you can say a prayer over this crystal. And then you can point the pointy side in and kind of have these pointing from the corners of your room. That's like a very, very easy, simplified grid in your house. And then you should have like 1 crystal in the center or in a prominent space, maybe that's a little bit bigger, that can help energize these. And you could kind of continue to work with this on a daily basis. So that's one way that you can use crystals in your daily life. And also wearing them. For those of you that are trying to improve communication, you could put something right around your throat chakra if you're having pain. in your sort of heart area. You could wear something just around your heart chakra. I wear a talisman close to that as well, just sort of for protection. So those are great ways to use crystals and talismans. What other questions do you guys have before I get into maybe bringing out Apollo for a second and then doing our meditation? Let's see, what does it mean to be an Aries Sun, Libra rising? Okay, that went by too fast. So let's see. Okay, someone's dreaming of a former partner and they're wondering why they're coming in through the dreams. That's a good question. A lot of times you have to kind of look at yourself. How much of you is holding on to the memory or the energy? Is there anything that you feel that they owe you or that you haven't been able to let go of? You could pull some cards for yourself and see what comes through. When you see a card like the Star or the Six of Cups, it can show a deep karmic connection. So maybe you could try that and glean a little bit more. If you get other cards like Swords, or if you get cups cards in various locations, it can just show the emotional energy that you're holding on to. Thank you, Genevieve. I appreciate it. He said, I had a tangerine crystal break from falling on the carpet. I've been unsure if it's still good. Yeah, it's great. Here's the thing. Sometimes I believe the universe rearranges things for us. I'll show you a crystal here that broke. I still use it. There's a couple pieces to it. So this one was heated by a chemical process or whatever. I like this for doing angelic meditations. You can see how beautiful the color is, but it definitely broke. And now I believe that I'm kind of meant to work with this portion of it a little bit more. Maybe I can put this one in my pocket. So I think sometimes the universe kind of helps us rearrange things. I would still use the crystals if they feel good. Just smudge them, clean them, recharge them. Unless you look at it and all you think about is the accident. So for me, I just think, okay, thank you, universe, for fine tuning that crystal so I can use it. Let's see. Awakening is your cause of insomnia. An interesting thing with people that start to wake up is that a lot of times you might notice that you wake up around 3 o'clock in the morning. And what you can do during that period is meditate. When I was doing my teacher training for yoga, they were talking about sort of like how the sun and the earth are kind of in the perfect rotation and whatever. But basically, you're opened up energetically to access different portals in that period. So I would say if you wake up or if you're finding yourself kind of having insomnia, do something productive. Meditate, write, clean, or sometimes just sit and see what is coming through, because you're awake for a reason and the energy is kind of within you. You can also just use your breathing to calm yourself down and kind of get back into a sleep or meditative state. Any other questions? How do you face the fear of awakening? Great question. So that's a tough one, because what I would kind of first ask you to think about is, what is it you're afraid of? Are you afraid of what you might learn? Are you afraid of what you might see? Are you afraid of just kind of like how to deal with the new energy coming in? Take it slow. It's kind of like eating a sandwich. You're not going to try to eat the whole thing at once. Spiritual awakening is the same thing. Kind of take little bites and find out if you like what it feels like. But baby steps, I think that was the key for me. I didn't try to do everything at once. And your fear is normal as you kind of start to awaken, because for whatever reason, we don't really talk about, and I'll answer your question about astral projection in a second, because we really don't talk about this, I think, unless we're on the live feed or whatever. Like, when a lot of organized religions, a lot of just families in general, it's not a topic of conversation. So that means that when you start to experience things like empathy within your body, feeling others' energies and others' emotions, or when you start to feel things like, or see a full body apparition, or experience an altered state of consciousness, go to a different dimension, all of this stuff, which does exist, is possible, is normal. It feels weird because we don't see it represented in everyday life. So just allow yourself to explore it, discover it, kind of feel like a baby learning how to exist in this new world, and you'll be fine eventually. Someone was asking me about astral projection. That's a much harder skill to master. But yes, I've had experiences with that. Mostly it's sort of like a dream state, definitely. I actually think most of us in our dreams are astrally projecting. So I have kind of regular experiences then. In meditation, maybe once, but it's a much more difficult skill to be able to master. And I think you have to do it with a lot of control and respect. Is there a spiritual reason for mental illness? That's a great question. I think that different maladies in the body can definitely be exacerbated by pain that you might be carrying. I think that sometimes mental illness in and of itself may actually be some people being a lot more sensitive to seeing different energies, and they may not have the control or the ability to kind of filter it out. So it just all comes rushing in. That's not saying that there's not truly mental illness. I'm saying that this plays a part in it. And I hope that one day our medical, mental health, and just well-being system encompasses both Eastern and Western medicine, because I think we can get people better faster by seeing it from a 365-degree angle. Is it normal to feel a light jolt when in deep meditation? Yeah, I get that too sometimes. Sometimes it's like you almost take a quick breath too. So it's a sign that you've kind of gone from one frequency to another. And the body, I think sometimes it's kind of like just a reaction. So I think it's a good sign you've gone to another realm while doing that. Let's see, what role does illness play in our lives on a soul level? I think sometimes we choose to experience certain things because it builds empathy, or maybe we lacked appreciation in another life, so we learn it in this. And sometimes we don't even understand that until it's already happened. So just like after I had that accident last month, just appreciation for being able to like move your arm to its full degree. I'm still getting some physical therapy on that. So that's really, really important. And breathing, if for those of you that might have had, like me, something with your nose, and just being able to have simple things, breathing, eating, normal digestion, taking care of yourself. Like we take for granted the daily miracles, and sometimes a sickness and illness or a setback helps us reset our life in general and take a moment to have more gratitude overall. Let's see, someone was asking about smells, like it disappeared before I could read it. I talked a little bit about clairaudience, which is being able to, it's not always even smelling with your nose, it's kind of like smelling with your third eye. Depending on what you smell, there's different sort of connotations. So if it's a pleasant smell, it usually does connotate or symbolize something positive. Lower frequencies typically come in with smells of like manure or a skunk or something foul or rotten. That's not always the case. It can also be smelling like someone's favorite perfume after they pass, and that's a symbol for you that they're there. So it's just another way that we can trigger our intuition, or that the spirit communicates with us. And let's see, how can we share soulmate or twin flame? That disappeared before I could see it. I might do a separate video again on soulmates and twin flames, or maybe take some questions about that, because I know that's a hot topic here. So let's see. I'm afraid to let anyone know that meditation is causing involuntary movements. As I said before, if it's just a sort of tremor in your body or a deep breath or something like that, it's just your body awakening or waking up a little bit. And when we used to do certain exercises in yoga, you would sometimes have a spasm, and that was just the energy working itself out. Also with Kundalini, you can hold a certain pose for like 11 minutes, and your body's going to do things in that amount of time. So just know that it's probably burning through some energy. Is there any other questions that you guys have? Oh, and my dog joined me here, so I'll pull him in a second here. Acting as a spirit guide for strangers in your own dream. That's showing that you're probably a natural healer, and maybe part of your purpose coming into this planet was to guide. A lot of us, like, one thing that I learned when I saw the first angel that I saw, I realized that there's kind of like levels. They don't all have wings. This one didn't have wings, and I think that some of us might be even lesser realm of angels coming here to experience things, then go back. And so you might actually have acted as a guide prior to this. You might have had a connection with the angelic realm, and you might be doing work very similar to what you did before here. So it's a good symbol, and you should probably try to connect with that person. Is awakening hereditary? It can be. I still think it's more important, like your own soul energy and spiritual energy. You'll see a lot of times a very awake person in a very conservative family that doesn't understand it. So it's not a rule of thumb. But as I said, in my family, there was a lot of people, particularly on my dad's side, particularly the women that were awake. My grandmother would talk endlessly about things that she saw. And years later, I realized she was psychic, but didn't get it at the time. Or didn't, like, we just kind of thought, oh, she's just talking about stuff. So yes, I think there's sometimes a genetic predisposition to have more of an opening, but it's not saying that you can't open up even if your family isn't awake. You had a crush on someone and they keep showing up in your dreams. You probably recognized an energetic connection with them. Sometimes I was saying, if you didn't join in earlier, that we can connect with someone and almost immediately we get this feeling like I've known you forever, or I'm gonna marry you one day. And sometimes that happens. And so you might just be feeling a really distinct connection from a past life. What you decide to do with that's up to you. How am I feeling about the transition of the planet? I think we're in a little bit of a retrograde right now. But one thing, I'll keep talking about yoga today because it seems appropriate. But in yoga, as you kind of spiral up, talking about the Kundalini energy, you'll go up to a certain point and then you come back like half a tick. And I think that's where we are on the planet. We made a lot of progress and now we're going back half a rotation to integrate, to explore some of the shadow energy that's going on and to learn from that, to heal it. And so I think we're in a healing phase right now, in a discovery phase. And the best thing to do is to kind of move through the shadow energy and understand it. But I believe, as I say at the end of every video, that we're always making forward momentum, even if we can't see it. One other thing that one of my teachers taught me once is just sitting here right now, like the planet's spinning, then it's rotating around the sun, then this particular solar system is rotating around the galaxy, then this galaxy is going outward. Like there's constant motion, even if we feel like we're stuck, always moving. Let's see. Any other questions? Otherwise, I'm going to get my puppy here for a second here. Why do I keep dreaming about your mom and dad's death? Let's see, they died from an accident. Okay, so I can answer this a little bit based on personal experience. Sometimes we're holding on to the pain from a relative's passing. And it can be feelings of anger, of frustration, of blame. And those feelings can hold their memory and sometimes even their energy close to us. So the first thing you can kind of work on is the healing whatever your relationship issues might have been, and letting her know that, or letting your parents know that you love them, and kind of just sending that love into the other dimension that they're in right now. What you can also do is request peace and quiet. And I've had to do this with relatives too. You can simply say, if you truly love me and if you understand the pain that it is that I feel when I see you, I need some time, I need some space, you know, I need you to work on yourself right now. And that's completely valid. So you can ask for peace and quiet. I have to do that sometimes if I just want a good night's sleep. I think I can't have constant spirit activity around the bed. It's time for bed now. So looking to see if there's any other things. Actually, I'm going to pull up Apollo while you guys think of another question. So I had a request to see my dog. He's sleeping, but I'm sure he'll be happy to come up for a second. Here we go. He just got groomed yesterday. His hair is a little bit crazy since he was sleeping on it. So here's Apollo for all of you that haven't met him before. I rescued him about a year and a half, almost, yeah, a year and a half ago. Any questions about dogs or pets, since I have mine here for a second? When I adopted him, you asked how old he was. When I adopted him, I know, buddy, thank you for making an appearance. I know you're tired. When I adopted him, he was about, they said he was about a year old, but he grew a little bit. So I think he was a little younger. And now I'm going to let him down here in a second. Thank you, buddy. He's about 3. I'm just going to say roughly 3. And let's see, can you please, let's see. Yeah, the sun god. Does he love the sun? Absolutely. He bathes in the sun all the time. And if I'm trying to take a walk, he'll just sit there sometimes. Absolutely, pets have souls. because I actually connected with a cat that I owned as a kid, and my family gave it away without me wanting to. But it had this sense of sadness. It came back, and I saw it reincarnated as a young man. So I believe that souls we can actually reincarnate as an animal if we want to, and animals are sometimes like a stepping stone into a human soul existence. So you never know. This I feel like this is an old ancient soul here, my little puppy. I'll pull him up at the end before we sign off. I think he's not. I don't even think he's human. I think he's like an alien soul from another dimension that's very very old, and came here to help me do my work because he does keep me company, heal me, and beautiful energy. Let's see. I'm so sorry for your lab that passed and visits you. I actually had a white lab from another life that comes back sometimes and will sit on my bed, and I can feel the energy like it's sitting on my leg. So it's kind of weird. But pets, if you forge a really strong connection with them, I believe it's just like a soulmate. So yeah, he is a familiar. um, okay. Our dog's intuitive minus. He knows exactly when I'm going to go on a walk or when it's time for food or what I'm doing. So I have to mask my thoughts sometimes if I need to sneak out of the house and do an errand because he'll immediately stand by the door and he knows. So I wish for an intuitive dog. Be careful what you wish for, they exist. Any other questions? Yes, I'll think about some meditations on spirituality and trauma. We're going to do one today here in just a moment. I think actually I'll take one or two more questions and then we're going to get straight into that meditation because I want to keep this around an hour. Um, so for masking thoughts, like I'm just talking about my dog, but what I try to do again is just change the channel. So dogs don't really think in words, but they think in pictures. So if I'm going to go somewhere, I try not to put that picture in my head because he kind of sees the picture and then knows what I'm doing. um, how can you access past lives? This will be my last question for now, and thank you for the donation. I appreciate that. So for accessing past lives, this kind of happened organically for me, and I think it's part of the waking up process for a lot of us. I want you to pay special attention to your dreams. That's where a lot of the information came in first for me. And the way to kind of discern between a regular flashback and just a dream, an everyday dream, is how distinct the energy is. Like sometimes you feel like you're right there, you can feel it, you can taste it, you wake up and it's so real. Those are typically either clairvoyant or looking back at the past showing things that have happened. Um, so I got a lot of my past life information from dreams and then other ones from just meditations where I would take like a piece of paper and a pen and I would either sketch down what came to mind. I would say, what was my last life? And I would start to write down words or sketch out things. And I had another psychic friend once where we were just kind of playing around with this and I was trying to figure out how I knew them before. So they confirmed a lot of what I saw with that. So if you have another intuitive friend, you can work on your ability to sort of validate things by doing that. And I think, okay, one last question. This is it, and then we'll do the meditation. How can you manifest? Just by thinking. I know this sounds crazy, but I actually put a little bit about this in my meditation here that I'll be guiding you through. But thoughts are the seeds of sort of like the magnetic energy that we put out in the world. So what we see in Harry Potter actually isn't that far from reality. The fact that you can feel, think, and say something and then see a reaction. You're not going to necessarily see an illumination coming from a wand, but what you will see is people in your life, situations in your life start to react to your thoughts. So when you start to think more critically of yourself, more negatively, you start to have more challenges. When you start to think more positively or start to just really attach yourself to the fact that you can do it. I feel like I'm working towards this outcome. Manifestation becomes possible. All right, we're going to pause a little bit from Q&A. I wanted to do a meditation today, and because I kind of had a traumatic event last month, and I wanted to try to help some of you that were either feeling a sense of pain in your life, whether it's pain from losing someone or being alone, or pain from having an injury like I did, or any sort of traumatic or quick event that happened that kind of took you out of your space, almost as if you were to imagine yourself and then you were transposed a little bit. So what we'll try to do today is pull you back into center and pull you back into sort of like the divine energy that is kind of part of why we're here on the planet. It's part of our divine purpose, and also it's what God and the universe want. We're supposed to be happy and experience abundance. So I'm going to take a quick drink of water, and then I would like for all of us to get into a comfortable place. So what you can do right now is, if you're at your computer, just kind of sit back, close your eyes. I may look at some parts of this so I make sure that I don't miss anything, but you can close your eyes and just relax and receive a healing from this meditation. Okay. So I had a really powerful dream last night. I'm going to use pieces of that in this. I normally use daytime energy when I'm meditating, but I'm going to, a lot of you in Europe, I know are, actually it's evening, so this will work for you. So we're going to do sort of a nighttime themed meditation. So I want you, we're first just going to get out of our heads and out of our bodies, just so that we can relax. So I want you to close your eyes and take just one deep breath, sending this energy to any part of your body that needs a healing. If you're feeling tension in your shoulders, if you feel like you have a migraine because you've been just worried about things, or you have that kind of tendency to have headaches, let's send the energy into whatever body part or whatever part of your mind is feeling fatigued or needs that healing. So just feel your body, let the breath come in like a wind blowing across the planet, clearing out anything that doesn't need to be there. Inhale when you're ready. Hold it for a second, see the energy swirling around in your body, and as you exhale, maybe picture anything that doesn't belong there, sort of as a cloud or as particles that are dissipating into the night. And I want you now to maybe imagine yourself, let's just see it as a nice warm space. I know it's not warm everywhere, but imagine that it's a warm, starry night, maybe that you're laying down on the grass, feeling the blades of grass kind of holding you up. It's this gentle, it's almost like the earth is kind of giving you a hug as you lay down on it. And maybe your feet can also feel the soil beneath you. And as you're doing this, you just feel this sense of connectedness to the green energy from the blades of grass, which are opening up your heart chakra. And I just want you to be in a place of receiving. So if you haven't had the love that you need in your life, or if you feel like you've been giving too much to others, let your first mother, Gaia, Mother Earth, provide you with this healing and support you. She's always there for you, even though we don't always give back and don't always give gratitude. Accept the love and then give it right back to her. Nice deep inhale. Opening up your heart, receiving that green energy, feeling that she has your back. And as you exhale, send the love right back to the planet. Healing her, loving her, apologizing that we aren't doing a better job taking care of her. Very good. I want you to turn your energy now towards the stars above you. So you feel that connection to the planet. You feel that she has your back. She's holding you in her hands. As you look now up at the stars above you, I want you to get this sense of how small and also how connected we are to those stars. It's interesting when we understand that everything on this planet, from the blades of grass that are beneath you, to the sun that is reflecting on the moon, to the other stars out there that are shining brightly, they were all created from earlier stars or earlier energy. So we're constituted from at least one other star, maybe a couple before us. And so we have stardust in our veins, in our DNA, and we are of the stars, of the light. And so tonight is all about us reconnecting with that divine cosmic energy. We're going to start with using the powerful phrase I am, which is really good for not just meditating, but manifesting. And so at the beginning, I'm going to help you get away from things that you're not, and then I'm going to help you reclaim things that you are. And then we're going to go out into the stars before we finish, which will be nice. So I want you to pull into your energy space. First of all, this feeling of love and light from the planet. And I want you to connect to your favorite star out in the galaxy. It doesn't matter which one. You could pick the North Star if you don't know which one, the brightest in the sky. Imagine that a single ray of light is coming down and creating this beam of light around you. I want you to take a look at what it looks like, what it feels like. In my mind's eye, it's silver energy, and it's creating a perfect cocoon of light, or a circle or an oval of light around your body. And you can almost see these strings or these sort of energetic threads going between you and the star, connecting you to this ancient energy, this ancient celestial energy that you're always connected with, but may sometimes forget. With this protection, seeing almost a circle of light around your body, I want you to, on the outside of the circle, envision either the person, the place, or for some of you, maybe it's even a traumatic memory or it's an addiction that's causing trauma for you. Put whatever that is outside of the circle so that you're safe, but that you see it and that it sees you. And now think these thoughts in your head. You don't need to say them aloud. You'll have this video later to listen to if you'd like to. And maybe I'll post the words on my social media network so you can do the meditation on your own. I want you to hear and think these, and if you want to say them aloud, you can. But I think just hearing them and envisioning them is the important thing. So take a deep breath. Feel that your energy is stronger than it was before that breath. Exhale. Know that you are safe and protected. See your frustration outside of the circle of light. And I want you to listen. I am not the pain that I experienced. Really feel that. You feel the pain, but you're not the pain. The pain is something that runs through you. It doesn't define you. So you can think also, I am not defined by the pain that I experienced or experience. I am not the words others have used against me. They're just words. They're just thoughts. They don't permeate your energy. They may hurt in the moment, but they're just words. And after they've been uttered, they lose their power. I do not resonate with these types of things. I am constituted from light, and I reclaim that light within. I want you to pay attention to whatever it is outside of the circle of light when you say that. I'm constituted, I'm created, I'm of the light. I want you to see your energy starting to grow brighter, and whatever outside the circle exists, I want you to see it either growing somewhat transparent, shrinking in size, or maybe on an elevated level, it's finding its own light. It's starting to evolve, and maybe you can bless it with that so that it can become something brighter and greater, because truly all shadows and darker energy seek to be loved, to be in the light. Think these things as well if they resonate. I am more than the sum of my parts. I'm more than my eyes, my face, my hair, my skin, my place of origin, my spiritual practice, or any injury or challenge that presents itself or has presented itself in my life. I am eternal. I came from the light and will return to the light. I see my luminance, and I challenge you to either rise to my frequency or return to your own. After each of the next ones, I want you to take a deep breath. I reclaim my power. As you inhale, I want you to see anything that you've given to this situation, this person, this place, this thing, and bring it back to your energy. And then on the exhale, I want you to return whatever you've been holding, fear, anger, frustration from this thing, and return it. So reclaim and return. Okay. I reclaim my power. Inhale. Feel the energy come back to you. I'm going to add this. It wasn't in my original. I want you to say, I release your power. Let's do a couple more breaths, reclaiming and releasing. I reclaim my power. I release your power. I reclaim my power. And I release yours. I reclaim my voice. I want you to really feel as we breathe in this time that you're pulling light into your throat chakra, a beautiful bluish energy that's going to break through any sort of pain, blockages, or not, maybe even you not allowing yourself to speak with the volume that you want or the tone that you want. I want you to pull in the light and heal this space, reclaim your voice. Allow it to swirl around, and anything that needs to be blocked, I want you, or anything that you need to remove, any blockages, I want you to exhale it with great force and see it breaking. Repeat it if you need to. And think to yourself, I reclaim my power, I reclaim my voice, I reclaim my divine right for happiness, joy, and abundance. God is everywhere in the sun, in the trees, in the stars, and even in the darkness. It's all part of creation. And that's really what darkness is. It is that creative energy that allows you to see the light. So don't be afraid of it. Allow your light to shine and to reveal whatever is existing within the shadows in our own life. I am part of the divine flow and allow it to guide me to my highest path. Allow me to allow my light to inspire, illuminate, and heal those in my presence as well. I want you to see the stars above you. And imagine that there might be some clouds in the sky. With this breath, I want you to clear the clouds which represent or symbolize your feelings of fear or frustration of the unknown. Inhale. As you exhale, I want you to see the Milky Way galaxy as you can on certain parts of the Earth that haven't been overly populated yet. See the Milky Way, and I want you now to feel that your energy is rising above your body, above the pain, above all of the frustration, above the sometimes limiting forces that we experience as being part of this planet and a physical being. I want you to rise and ascend to the stars, see the light, see the multitude of light, a chorus of energy that is surrounding around you, swirling around you. And I want you to feel that you are back home. I want you to really feel the light and the energy course through every vein, every atom, every piece of your mind and body and spirit. This is who you are. This is exactly where you will be again. What we're experiencing here is simply to allow us to grow as eternal beings. I want you now, as good as this feels, to just sort of sit here for a moment and imagine that your energy, your thoughts, and your body are as light as a feather. Float for a moment in the ethers among your star sisters and star brothers, and allow your energy to gently fall back towards the galaxy first, then the Milky Way. Seeing yourself, finding your own path back to our solar system. Seeing Earth as a little blue dot that you're drawn to. Gently drifting towards your body that's laying down in the field. Rejoining it so that you can see the stars again with your own two eyes. Seeing all the energy that's out there, remembering that's where you came from. Understanding that it's okay to feel lost and confused in this human body and this human experience. I want you to breathe one last time and allow this to be a breath of gratitude, a breath of strength, of reclamation, connecting again with that cosmic energy that constitutes you. And it's also going to be an offering to the planet, since our carbon dioxide feeds the grass, the trees, and all of nature around it. So your breath can be a great gift, if nothing else, to Mother Earth. Inhale. Exhale. I want you to remember all of the things that you are: divine, resplendent, eternal. I want you to release all the things that you are not: labels, how you look, how you feel in your body. These are just things that we go through. Our energy is not constrained by our body, by the limitations that we or others place on our body or on our lives. When you're ready, open your eyes. And depending on what yogic practice you might follow, I'll say Satnam or Namaste. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of your healing today, for having this discussion with me. If this is something you like, I might do it more frequently. And I'll try to accommodate different time zones, because I know it's hard for those of you. Specifically, I was reading about Japan and Australia, and I know there's different parts of the globe where an evening or early afternoon meditation, my time, would be a lot easier, so I'll do that. So take care of yourselves, and thank you so much. And I'll try to continue this sort of two-part Q&A in the future, where I allow for some people on Patreon to ask questions, and then I try to answer a few live as well. Okay. Thank you so much. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you soon. Have a great holiday for those of you that do celebrate Thanksgiving, and otherwise just give gratitude and love to those around you as well, because it's kind of crazy that we invent these holidays when we should be doing it all year round. So I thank you and I appreciate you. See you soon. Bye-bye.